ERP not delivering in the executive suite? I can fix it. I've investigated dozens of substandard ERP implementations and advised clients how to turn them around. In response to this, I wrote a book and I ran executive briefings. This resulted in a unique proprietary 7-step process that, if accurately followed, will guarantee you an excellent ERP outcome for your existing installation. This video is to share that with you. I want to stress that you are not alone. Here's an example. Interview with the CEO of a FTSE 100 company. Please rate your big brand ERP. Operationally, 8 out of 10. Strategic executive level, 1 out of 10. Strategic focus is critical, but is largely not understood. And he is not alone. Gartner, 55 to 75% of ERP projects do not deliver what was promised. 2 counterpoints. Success case studies. The auditors left after 6 weeks. Last year they were here for 6 months. We have masses of management information and profitability has improved. Conference paper and presentation with the executive sponsor. Another case study. Facilitated growth, new distribution center and necessity, secured the Dior account with an immediate 12% revenue uplift. Also at a conference. How would you like your ERP data warehouse and business intelligence as a high-performance strategic information engine? Would you like executives and managers to have on-demand access to the right data? Would you like the board pack to be generated almost entirely from the ERP, the data warehouse, and the business intelligence? Would you like complex business questions answered in seconds, including answers to questions that you'd not previously thought to ask? The ERP runs smoothly with minimum reliance on consultants. The ERP has become an indispensable part of decision-making across the business. This is all discussed in detail in my free, no-obligation 7-step recipe masterclass, instructions in a minute. So in response to that and dozens of investigations, I've developed my 7-step recipe for success, which will be discussed in detail in the masterclass, and where you will get reference documents and other material to take away with you. I encourage you to take action now to learn the recipe. If you do not act on a new idea within 48 hours, you probably never will. Email me now for my free masterclass outlining the 7-step ERP success recipe with tips for immediate action. To obtain a link to the masterclass, please reply to the email which delivered this link. If you want more information, please stay on for the next few slides. The story behind the second success. I just completed my lecture to the Gibbs Executive Masterclass. A delegate approached me. Dr. Robertson, my name is Robert. I'm sitting with a failed ERP implementation. Can you help me? By all means. We made an arrangement to meet a few days later. We met and Robert outlined the situation in his business. He was CEO of the 90-year-old family business with half ownership along with his brother. They'd purchased a mid-level ERP and gone through an implementation. The implementation had failed. Could I assist? I proposed my standard short-duration executive-level pulse measurement investigation and submitted a proposal. This was accepted and I commenced work a few days later. The pulse measurement. I interviewed the leadership of the business, starting with Robert with my standard questions. I undertook a detailed walkthrough of the business led by Robert. I discovered that the strategic essence of the business was brand management. The more effective the brand management, the greater the sales and the greater the profits. Then I interviewed Sean, the CEO of the implementer, and his team, and undertook a walkthrough of the software. The findings. Robert had left the project with the IT manager, a chap in his mid-20s, first mistake. Sean had left the project with one of his mid-level project managers, second mistake. The strategic essence, brand management, had been totally overlooked. The configuration was sloppy and substandard relative to my standards. The recommendations. The executive sponsor must be the CEO. The implementer team must be led by the CEO. The configuration needed major work and brand management had to be front and central to the project. So step 1, agreement to lead the project, CEO custody. Robert accepted my findings and asked me if I would take charge of the project. I agreed, subject to Robert taking personal charge of the project, my having an open door to Robert and him participating in all key workshops. Also subject to Sean leading the implementer team and at least attending weekly project meetings and key workshops. This was agreed. Why CEO custody? The ERP is transverse and cross-cutting. The CEO owns the integrated holistic view of the business. So only the CEO can enforce decisions across the full spectrum of the business, and only the CEO has the integrated, holistic view of the business. So the CEO must be the sponsor. I'm going to go on with the story. If you've heard enough, please reply to the email that sent the link to you to this presentation, and you can sign up to receive the masterclass. I'm going to continue for a while. Step 2, the ERP strategic project leader. It was further agreed that we would do things my way. There would be no in-house project manager. All schedule and related project management was done by the implementer company. Precision configuration, fundamental. Step 3, strategic alignment. It was agreed that the strategy of the business, the essence of the business and how it thrived, was brand management. Accordingly, in the balance of the project, I devoted particular attention to brand management. So let's just look at that a little bit deeper. I have spoken at length for many years about the importance of aligning IT with business strategy. Really early on, difficulty coming up with a concise definition. Looked at the work of Professor MacDonald, Professor Michael Porter, and Michel Robert, collated all of that into the statement that you see on the screen, the essence of why the organization exists and how it thrives. So strategy is a holistic, integrated picture of how the entire organization fits together and interoperates with the external environment to produce a thrive outcome. Step 4, remediate versus replace. I'd found that the ERP was entirely suitable, so no reason to replace. Since the system had not gone live and the configuration was sloppy, it was agreed that we would effectively do a completely new implementation, retaining what we could, which turned out to be very little. Step 5, precision configuration. We then moved to precision configuration, and this was a major focus for the next few months of the project. A point of challenge. As soon as I commenced work on the implementation, Sean came to me. "James, you will need these," he said, and presented me with a thick file of process diagrams. I thanked him for them, glanced at them, and put them back on the shelf where they remained for the rest of the project. My focus was on strategic configuration, not workflow. Workflow would be resolved in the laboratory in stage 6. Sean frowned, clearly not comfortable with my reaction. But after the successful outcome of the project, he adopted my approach. Instead, I asked for an in-depth walkthrough of the software now that I had a better idea of the requirements, which was arranged forthwith. I also requested an Excel workbook with all the validation table specifications together with all data currently in the tables. I had to ask for this 3 times. "Sean, I really need that workbook urgently, please." Finally, after getting quite pushy, I received the spreadsheet. The data was a mess. Remember, this is post-initial first attempt at implementation. I immediately started sitting with Robert and the appropriate line manager for each table, and together we developed precision hierarchies for each table. We started with the credit note reason codes. There you see it on the left. Almost no choices, incomplete, cannot answer every question, forced to analyze transaction descriptions in Excel. That's what I call sloppy configuration, folks. It's a mess. The solution, this table on the left there, was developed with Robert and his relevant manager. It covers every possible value for credit note reason codes, and it allows for a situation where the reason is not known or where the reason is other than what's on the list. These principles and standards were applied to every single table, including the product class and all other tables. And then we found there was missing attribute data. There was data and information regarding the products which was nowhere in the ERP, so we added a significant number of user-defined tables. Then we looked at the product class, and after quite a lot of deliberation and trying different things, we concluded that the correct thing for the product class was to put the brands and the brand lines into the product class, and you see that on the screen there. Every single brand structured to every single line of the brand. This became absolutely central to the brand management solution. Then the product category, a user-defined field, which defines all the attributes, the physical attributes of the products. That allowed us to specify, or allowed me to specify, some bespoke software which was used to maintain the product master, maintain the brand hierarchy, and to add new products to the database. I then looked at the projects and contracts module as a means of doing the brand management. I decided that I wanted to replicate the brand hierarchy codes into the projects module. Sean said it couldn't be done, but I knew it could. There was another chap, Anton, who was working in the warehouse, was also an implementer of the same ERP, and I said, Anton, can you do this? He said, sure, I've done it before. So he wrote a piece of software that replicated the entire brand hierarchy, and you can see it at the top of the screen there. And on top of that, we specified 29 expense codes. And the result was that we had a precision product master data based on the precision brand classification. The projects module integrated at the data level using third-party software and precision configuration gave us powerful brand management capability. Budget per brand line per month across 29 expense headings for every 12-month budget cycle. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the masterclass. Step 6, prove it works, the laboratory, war games. We kitted out one of the training rooms with computers. The entire core team sat together, facilitated by myself with Robert in the room and Sean where appropriate. We thrashed the system until we could no longer break the configuration. We established the operational processes. We trained all the users. And then step 7, make it work, go live. Once every facet was tested, we set the date to go live. Go live went flawlessly. The business set about gaining practical experience with the use of the system. A year on, the standard of brand management had dramatically improved. Sales and profits were up. Dior came to Robert and said, we've heard what you can do. Our present franchisees cannot do that, so we want to give the franchise to you. Within a few months, the transition had occurred and revenue was up by 12% almost overnight. I subsequently wrote 2 case studies with Robert that were presented at conferences. So the SMEXA conference, Strategic ERP Investment, African Sales Company case study, the BPM Summit, Doing Things Differently and Better, ASCO case study, Creating Competitive Advantage. The outcome that I talked about earlier, facilitated growth, new distribution center in necessity, and you see the new offices there on the bottom left, and secured the Dior account with an immediate 12% revenue uplift. Folks, a highly successful project, and I can do that for you. And I did it by following this recipe, which we'll talk about on the masterclass, and will give you solid basis to do this with your existing system that, as we said, is not delivering. So summing up, the 7-step process delivers results. The CEO custody is critical. The implementer director custody is critical. Strategic project leader is vital. Strategic alignment is vital. Precision ERP configuration to my standards is at the heart of this success. Laboratory and war games must be rigorously conducted, and designing ERP implementations not to fail is a fundamental mindset that I advocate. So I encourage you to take action now, learn the recipe, reply to the email that sent you the link to this video, and tell me that you want the link to the masterclass, and we'll get it back to you by return. I look forward to seeing you on the masterclass. I guarantee you that you will take away from the masterclass at least one action that you can apply immediately. In the masterclass, I will take you through the 7-step process. I will explain each step in the process. I will give you pointers for action you can take immediately, and a comprehensive how-to guideline that you can put into practice in your organization immediately after the masterclass. What I'm offering you is really high value. It's no cost, no obligation. So I look forward to hearing from you. You can reply to the email that sent this to you, or you can email me on masterclass@erpdoctor.com. I look forward to hearing from you and helping you to achieve an exceptional outcome from your ERP. Thank you so much.